क्षमतामपराधिजनं खलुषायुतशक्तसुदीननरं सुपथे परिचालय सर्वदिनं प्रणमामि च माधव देवपदम् वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो महावदान्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्यनाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते। श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। We are going through Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 6th chapter. We are currently in verse number 36. Yamadibhir yoga pathai kama lobha hato muhu mukunda sevaya yadvattat thadatma na शाम्यति। निरंतर काम लोभादि रिपु वशीभूत अशांत मन मुकुंद सेवा द्वारा जे मन साक्षात निगृहित है यम नियमादि अष्टांग योग मार्ग अवलंबन करिले ते मन निरुद्ध व शांत है ना। Our mind is constantly troubled with the desires of this material world, the greed, etc. There are different enemies: kama, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya. These are the 6 enemies. Our desires in this material world, and when the desires are not fulfilled, then anger. Lobha, greed, extreme greed. Moha, infatuation or delusion. Mada, intoxication, means one is intoxicated with pride. And matsarya, enviousness. These are the 6 enemies that are there in this material world in all the living entities. Actually, the living entity is very pure, but being completely under the being subdued by the rajoguna mode of passion, one will have these material desires, anger, etc. As long as one is troubled by these things, the mind cannot be at rest. So here Narada Goswami is telling that restless mind, which is constantly troubled with desires, greed, etc., the only process by which it will be freed is through devotion. Mukunda Seva. The way in which the Mukunda Seva cleanses one's mind from all these enemies, no other process like Yama, Niyama, etc. None of these processes are going to purify to such a degree. Means here Narada Goswami is telling the supremacy of bhakti, devotional path is supreme. Although, my dear Narada, Vedavyasa, you have mentioned various processes, karma, dharma, etc. You have mentioned all those things, but yet they are very, very insignificant in front of devotion. Devotion is the only means by which one can be completely freed from all material desires and unwanted things. Neha yad dharma karmaya na viragaya kalpate yat tirtha pada sevaya jivannapi mritopi san. In Srimad Bhagavatam it is said that karma or that dharma means any karma, any activity you are doing, whether it is yam, niyam or jnana or whatever practice you are doing, that karma or that dharma means varnashrama dharma, whatever you are doing, na viragaya kalpate, if it is not bringing detachment in this material world, if any of your activities or the following of dharma does not bring detachment in you, means by performance of that activity you are getting more and more attached to it. Na tirthapada sevaya, and if it is not provoking you to engage in the service of Tirthapada, Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, jivannapi mritopi san, that person, even though he is living, he is considered dead. Means Mukunda Seva, service to Supreme Lord Hari or devotional practice, devotional service is topmost, it is supreme. If one is not performing devotional service, then even though he may be doing all other activities, karma, dharma, whatever it is, but it is not of any use. Dharma should or karma should ultimately bring one to the path of Krishna Bhakti. Otherwise, that is a useless process or it's a waste of time. Because the way in which the heart is purified in Hari Bhajan, Krishna Bhajan, it is not so in other processes. We heard, we started the purport by Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur. Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur says that those who are engaged in yoga, practice of yoga for a long time, but they have not attained the ultimate goal, what they will do is they will engage they will try to engage all their activities or the fruits of the activities in the service of Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, and finally after that they will attain, they will merge in you, the yogis. When they practice, when they are engaged in the yogic practices, it is not very purifying, because any process, whether it is jnana, tapasya, yoga, unless until there is devotion that is mixed with it, it is not going to give the actual benefit. Simply performance of yoga without devotion. Devotion means manmana bhava madbhakto, remembering about the Supreme Lord, meditating upon Him, serving Him, worshipping Him, offering obeisances to Him, serving Him. All these things, they come under, devotional practice. So, even if one is doing yoga means not the material yoga that we are talking about. In this material world, there are also yogic practices. The yoga that we are doing here is only to, keep the body fit. That's not, Raja Yoga that is mentioned by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. The yoga is a very, very pure word. Yoga means milan, combine. Through karma, yoga means union or combine. What is the union? Union of Atma with Paramatma. Union of the servant with the master of the, with the master. That is yoga. So, now in the current day world, yoga has the meaning of yoga has completely changed. Yoga is taught here. You know, it is billboards. You see, yoga is taught here. What yoga? Body, to keep the body fit. But it is totally, it's called apabhransh. It's like a totally, what do you call, a fallen meaning to yoga. It's not the actual meaning of yoga. So the yogis, they are not trying to keep their body fit. While performance of these activities, the body automatically becomes fit. That is a different story. But they are not doing this, pranayam, yama, niyama, etc. Asan, pratyahar. There are different processes in yoga. This is not to keep their body fit. This is to make them, make the mind free from material contaminants and be able to remember the Supreme Lord properly. That is the process. With the purification of the, by purifying oneself with the life air, pranayam, inhaling and exhaling, when we are gradually studying the flow of the pranaya, the air inside, then slowly the concentration, meditation upon it will increase, and then one will be able to, attain the Supreme Lord. That is the process to get united, with the Supreme Lord through yoga. Of course, we prescribe Bhakti Yoga, union with the Lord through the process of Bhakti. Karma Yoga, union with the Lord through the process of Karma. Jnana Yoga, through Jnana. So these are the processes that are basically meant to become united with the Supreme Lord. So we heard that by engaging, the yogis by engaging in the activities or by dovetailing the activities at the feet of Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, they get purified and ultimately they merge with the Supreme Lord. You see, the devotees, their desire is not to merge with the Supreme Lord. The devotees, they want to maintain their identity as a servant of Supreme Lord Sri Krishna eternally. This is the difference. এই প্রথম স্কন্ধের পঞ্চম অধ্যায়ে নৈষ্কর্ম্যপ্যচ্যুত ভাবवर्जितम अर्थात अच्युत भाव वर्जित नैष्कर्म्य निरंजन ज्ञानও শোভা পায় না ইত্যাদি শ্লোকের দ্বারা ভক্তি রহিত যোগাদির বৈর্থ্য হেতু এখানে ভক্তি মিশ্র জমাদি যোগ মার্গ বুঝতে হইবে সি in the very narration that we are talking about, the discussion between Narada and Vedavyasa earlier in the previous chapter, in the 5th chapter, we heard Naishkarmyapya Achyuta Bhava Varjitam. Narada is telling to Vedavyasa that even if one is engaged in the Nishkarma means those activities that are not binding us in this material world. Karma, akarma, vikarma, these are all there. But naishkarmya means that person who is engaging in naishkarmya, that karma, without any desire for anything of this material, that is called naishkarmya. Therefore, that karma is not binding one in this material world. But Narada Goswami has already told, naishkarmyam mapi achyuta bhava varjitam. Even if one is engaged in the Naishkarmya, but if it is Achyuta Bhava Varjitam, means there is no feeling or service to Achyuta Bhagavan, then it is condemned. Even though karma may not be binding us in this material world, if there is no devotion to Supreme Lord in that, then it is useless. So, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur is telling that even if such a activity is also considered useless without devotion, what to speak of yoga and karma, yoga and jnana, etc. If one is following the path of jnana marga, then also one should have the tendency, or that should be in connection with Supreme Lord Hari. one is following the process of yoga, then also Hari should be the center. Without devotion, without mixing of devotion with any of these processes, they will not be purified. They means those who are performers of those activities. अतएव সেই ভক্তিমিশ্র यमादि योगपथेर द्वारा যদিও आत्मा प्रशमित হয় तथापि जमादि व्यतिरेकेই কেবলমাত্র মুকুন্দ সেবার দ্বারা যেমন সুপ্রসন্ন হয় সেই রূপ হয় না এই অর্থ means even though through the process of yama that is mixed with bhakti, by that there is some alleviation of the anxiety, mental anxiety, but Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur is telling that the manner in which one is completely purified by serving the lotus feet of Mukunda, there is no match. Means there is no match to the process of serving Mukunda, because by this process one will be completely purified, whereas other processes only when they are mixed with bhakti they will award fruits to some degree. And then he also says by serving Mukunda Atma suprasanna hoy. Once Atma is completely satisfied, gratified, because Atma is now situated in its actual position. As long as one, yesterday I think or day before yesterday we were talking about the job satisfaction. Unless until the Atma is not completely satisfied, the quest for newer and newer things is not going to stop. So Atma is completely satisfied. Yen Atma suprasidati, the Atma will be completely satisfied only by serving Mukunda, not by any other process. এই ভাগবতে প্রথম স্কন্ধের প্রথম অধ্যায়ে ভবতানুদিত প্রায়ম অর্থাৎ তুমি ভগবানের নির্মল যশ প্রায় বর্ণন করো নাই, এখন হইতে তথাত্মাধ্যান সাম্যতি অর্থাৎ যমাদি যোগ মার্গের দ্বারা সেই রূপ সাক্ষাৎ রূপে আত্মা সুপ্রসন্ন হয় না, এই শ্লোক পর্যন্ত দেবর্ষি নারদের কথনের দ্বারা ভক্তি নিস্তারের উপায় রূপে গৃহীত হইলেও সেই ভক্তির ত্রৈবিধ্য দৃষ্ট হয় কেবলত্ব, প্রাধান্য এবং গুণভাব. Now Narada has so far given so many instructions to Vedavyasa, starting from Bhagavanir Nirmala Yasha Praya Varnan Karona. Starting from, he said that you have not vividly described the glories of Narayana or Hari. Starting from that point to till this shloka where he tells that even if you are engaging yourself in yam and other activities, one is not purified. Till this point he has given so many instructions, but principally about bhakti only. He has talked about devotion. He has not talked about anything other than devotion. But yet Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur says, even though he talked about devotion only, there are different gradations of devotees he talked about. That is Kevalatva, Pradhanya or Gunabhav. Kevalatva means one-pointed devotion. Narada has given instruction about one-pointed devotion. Pradhanya means devotion that is preferred over other kinds of process. Devotional process being given preference over other process, means second to Kevala. Kevala means only service to Supreme Lord, nothing other than that. अर्थात नीच योनि प्रभृतिते जन्म হয় कदापि হয় না, আর हरिचरणारविंदेर भजन व्यतिरेके केवल स्वधर्म पालन द्वारा कौन व्यक्ति वा अर्थ कौन प्रयोजन लाभ करियाछे इत्यादि श्लोके एवं अहं पुरातीते भावे अर्थात आमी पूर्वकल्पे पूर्वजन्मे इत्यादि देवर्षि नारदेर जन्म वृत्तांत पर्यंत इत्यादि श्लोक समूहे भक्तिर केवलत्व अर्थात कर्म ज्ञान योगादीर मिश्रण व्यतिरेके शुद्ध देखादीर मिश्रण व्यतिरेके শুদ্ধ দেখানো হইয়াছে. Now, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur is explaining that. Now, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur is explaining that there is one verse that we heard in the previous chapter. Tyaktva swajharmam charanambujam hare bhajan apakvo atapate tato yadi yatra kvava abhadram abud amushya kim kovarta apto abhajatam swadharmatah. We heard this verse in the previous chapter. Narada is giving instruction to Vedavyasa that a devotee, while performing Hari Bhajan, he faces a fall down or he encounters death even before he has matured in devotional path. Even before he has attained a stage of perfection in devotion, he has faced death or he had faced a fall down. But what inauspiciousness there in it? One may not say that because he has given up his swadharma, his his material duties or social duties or responsibilities, and he has engaged in Hari Bhajan and he has not attained perfection also, he had fallen down before that, so he has lost this life and he has lost everything. But Narada says, no, there is no loss. What loss is there even if one has given up one's own dharma to engage in devotion and not being perfected in it? On the other hand, yatra kvava abhadram kovartha apto abhajatam no swadharmatah. On the other hand, a person is very nicely engaged in one's own dharma, but he has not performed devotion. He has perfected in his dharma, varnashrama dharma. He has done his brahminical duties very nicely. He has performed his sannyasa duties very nicely, or brahmachari duties very nicely, or grihastha has performed his household duties very nicely, has perfected in it. Narad says, what auspiciousness is there in it? What did he achieve by it? Nothing. He does not achieve anything. So, in this, basically Narad Goswami gave instruction about pure devotion. Pure devotion, if one is following, even if one falls down on the path, still it is auspicious. On the other hand, by giving up devotion, you take up any other activity and you have perfected it, there is no use. So in this verse, he talked about pure devotion, kevala bhakti, unalloyed, pure or one-pointed devotion. Up until he mentioned about his own past life, where he is told that, I was serving the pure devotees and from there I got this, desire to hear Hari Katha, and then I got attachment to Supreme Lord. Up until this point, he has mentioned about the Kevala Bhakti, pure devotion, one-pointed devotion to Supreme Lord. Actually, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur is classifying whatever verses we heard so far, whatever Narada has instructed Vedavyas Muni, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur is classifying this in various forms of bhakti. Kevala Bhakti, Pradhanya Bhakti, and Gunamishra Bhakti. So, what are the types of bhakti that are described within this narration of Narada and Vedavyasa are being pointed out by Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur. कुर्वाणा यत्र कर्माणि अर्थात जीव सकल जत काले भगवत सिखाए ताहार उपदेश अनुसारे कर्म सकल करे तत्काले अनुरागी होइया श्री कृष्णेर गुण और नामादि कीर्तन एवं स्मरण करिया थाके इत्यादि श्लोके भक्तिर प्राधान्य वर्णित होइया छे. And in the verse kurvana yatra karmani means when the living entities perform activities, all the activities as per the instructions of Krishna, then slowly they will develop their attachment towards singing the glories of Supreme Lord Sri Krishna and his names. This is called as Pradhanya Bhakti, or you can say as Sadhana Bhakti. It is a devotional service, is given the topmost priority. It is it's a Sadhana Bhakti, it's a devotional practice. What is the devotional practice? The practice where a living entity is following as per the instructions of Krishna. When one acts upon the instructions of Krishna, slowly, slowly he will develop attachment to singing the glories and the names of Supreme Lord. यदत्र क्रियते कर्म अर्थात यही संसारे भगवत परितोषण निमित्त जे कर्म कृत है भक्ति योग समन्वित ज्ञान ताहार अधीन एवं भगवत तुष्टि जनक कर्म द्वारा भक्ति है एवं भक्ति हইলে ही ज्ञान जन्मे एखाने भक्तिर गुणभाव अर्थात भक्ति देवी एखाने मिश्रिता गौणी. एंड द थर्ड इज मिश्रिता भक्ति और गुण bhakti, Gauni bhakti, secondary, wherein Narad Goswami is telling that only when yoga is mixed with devotion, it will award the fruit, or only when karma or jnana is mixed with devotion, only then it will award the fruit. So these are the three gradations of bhakti Narad Goswami has talked about. One is pure bhakti, one-pointed, unalloyed devotion to Krishna, and other is about sadhana bhakti, wherein he mentioned that by following the instructions of Krishna, following the instructions of the sadhus, I meditated upon the Supreme Lord, I acted according to that, and slowly I attained attachment towards the singing the glories of Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. So that is sadhana bhakti. And third, finally, what we are reading is about the Guna Mishra Bhakti, where it is alloyed devotion or it is not pure devotion. These are the three different kinds of instructions that Narada has given to Vedavyas. You are understanding? It's only going one side. It is little, it's a kind of a summary of what we have heard so far. So, it's basically nothing much to explain because all of this has been explained before. So I'm not again going into details of each and everything because we already heard very, vividly and detailed with each and every single details. Therefore, I'm not going again back into all those, so that, it will only increase the time frame. But if anything is unclear, then we can stop there and then we can, have an explanation on that. इहादेर मध्य केवलत्व अर्थात केवला भक्ति होइले निष्काम अधिकारी गणेर भक्ति अन्यान्य शुद्धा निर्गुणा उत्तमा अकिंचना इत्यादि नाम धारण करिया प्रेम फल लाभ करें. So when bhakti attains kevalatva, kevalatva means one pointed, means there is no desire for jnana, karma, yoga, etc. अन्य अभिलाषिता शून्यम ज्ञान कर्मादि अनावृतम आनुकूल्येन कृष्ण अनुशीलनम भक्तिरुत्तमा. That's called as uttama bhakti. That's called as unalloyed devotion. That is called as topmost devotion. And there are also other names. Akinchana, without, free from any desires. Shuddha, pure. Ananya means again, Ananya also, there are different names to the same thing. Ananya means nothing other than bhakti. And Nirguna, free from all the modes of material nature. This is called Kevala Bhakti. And it is called Uttama Bhakti. This is topmost. Our target should be that. And by following that, Prema Phal Labh Koran, one will attain the love of Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. The fruit of it is Krishna Prem. प्राधान्य होइले कर्म मिश्रा, ज्ञान मिश्रा, योग मिश्रा इत्यादि नामनी भक्ति शांत अधिकारीर रतिफल एवं काहारो मोक्ष फलो प्रदान हन. But if pradhanya, if slowly the devotional service is given preference, but still we are engaged in other material activities also, which means when it is mixed with jnana, karma, yoga, etc., then the fruit of it is shanta bhav, moksha, up to liberation. One will not get prema bhakti. Because there are different gradations of devotion, there are different fruits also. Simply we say devotion, but the fruit of each of these devotional activities is different because the degree to which one is devoted is also different. So when it is pradhanya, means whether it is when it is unalloyed, then the result of it is সেখানে সাহায্য মাত্র করত স্বয়ং ভক্তি দেবী তটস্থা হইয়া থাকেন এবং তারপর ভক্তি মিশ্র কর্ম জ্ঞান ও যোগ মোক্ষের সাধন করেন। When dasya prabhriti bhav means the servitorship to the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, sadhusanga vashata, by our association with the sadhus, when one understands his own position as being a servant of Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, and then he is engaged in the performance of chanting the holy name, but the thing is still he has the desire for karma, jnana, yoga, etc. All these things will only become supportive to devotion, but it cannot be called as pure devotion, and therefore they will attain only up to moksha, they will attain only up to liberation and not beyond. Even though in the association of sadhus one has understood that one is servant of Supreme Lord, but because of not being able to give up the karma, jnana, yoga, etc., he will be still engaged in these practices, and therefore he will at most attain liberation and not beyond. अतएव এই শাস্ত্রে भक्ति द्विविधा केवला एवं प्रधानी भूता. Therefore bhakti in this scripture, particularly in Srimad Bhagavatam, two types of devotion is mentioned. One is kevala, that is pure devotion, and other is pradhana, means devotional practice. But we are not going to talk about the devotion that is mixed with the three modes of material nature or with karma, jnana, etc. We are going to talk about either sadhana bhakti or we means the scripture Srimad Bhagavatam, because Narada has given instructions to Vedavyasa that you have to sing the glories of Supreme Lord Sri Krishna exclusively, not anything else. You should not mix anything with this if you want actual peace in the heart. Therefore, in Srimad Bhagavatam, we are going to hear about two kinds of devotion. One is kevala, pure devotion, other is pradhanya or the devotional practices, like serving the devotees or chanting the holy name or remembering the Supreme Lord. All these devotional practices are pure devotion. এই সমস্তই শ্রী নারদের দ্বারা উপদিষ্ট হইয়া শ্রী ব্যাসদেব শ্রী ভাগবতের দ্বাদশটি স্কন্ধে বিস্তৃতভাবে প্রকাশ করিবেন, ইহা জানিতে হইবে. Thus being instructed by Narada Goswami, Vedavyasa is going to elaborate on these two only, on bhakti principally, but sadhana bhakti or pure bhakti, and he is going to expand this and going to compile a scripture which has 12 cantos in it, and in these 12 cantos only devotion has been elaborated by Vedavyasa Muni. This is what we have to understand from this particular verse. Vedavyasa Muni is telling that, from Narada Goswami is telling that from all these verses that Narada has spoken to Vedavyasa, we have to understand that about pure devotion and devotional practice, Srimad Bhagavatam is going to be elaborated. So that is the purport by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Now there is an explanation by Srila Prabhupada also, which we will take day after tomorrow. Okay, we'll take this topic because tomorrow you have some programs. I think not many will be turning up, and I will also participate in the Julan Yatra in our mat and Balram's appearance day. So tomorrow we will take a break from Srimad Bhagavatam class, and then day after tomorrow we will meet again, and we will go through the purport by Srila Prabhupada, and also he writes about the various practices. There are Ashtanga Yoga, 8 different yogic practices, Yam, Niyam, and Pratyahara, Asan, etc. 8 different processes. So they are also going to be explained there what they are. We will hear about it day after tomorrow. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्री श्री गुरु गौरांग गांधर्विका गिरिधारी श्री श्री राधा मदन मोहन पंचतत्वात्मक श्री गौर हरि की जय। परमाराध्यतम पतित पावन स्तोत्र सत श्री श्रीमद भक्तिवल्लभ तीर्थ गोस्वामी श्री गुरु महाराज की जय। नित्य लीला प्रविष्ट ओम विष्णुपाद स्तोत्र सत श्री श्रीमद भक्ति दयित माधव गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। जगत गुरु श्री भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी ठाकुर प्रभुपाद की जय। श्री श्री रूपानुग गुरु वर्ग की जय। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि श्री गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा गोविंद देव झूलन यात्रा महामहोत्सव की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवत महापुराण की जय। श्री कृष्ण द्वैपायन वेदव्यास महामुनि की जय। श्री नारद गोस्वामी की जय। जय श्रीमद् भागवत श्रवणकारी भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री हरिनाम प्रभु की जय। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल।